Hello, my name is Ken Rusk, and I wrote a book called Blue Collar Cash. I've been accused of being a blue collar entrepreneur, and my goal is to use this information that I've put in the book to help really cut the learning curve for future entrepreneurs that are following along, maybe along the path that I did, and to make sure that I help you kind of get around some of the obstacles and make sure that you have a nice smooth path and see what exactly it is you want your life to look like first, and then make that happen with whatever endeavor you choose. So I'm happy to be here, and thank you for having me today.
Yeah, of course. So I think you're already touching on this, but can you describe your purpose in writing Blue Collar Cash? What are you hoping that readers are taking away when they read your work?
Well, originally I thought it would be someone who was younger, let's say 15 to 35, in that area, and they were just trying to figure out what they want their life to look like, how to plan for the future, how to use the visualization side of their brain to make their life look really clear going forward. And then I found out there was a lot of people that actually went to college and don't know why they did. They have a bunch of debt, they're not using their degree, and they really want to get back to something that they're passionate about. So that was another interesting reader. I think the third one that I wasn't really expecting is how many business owners, small business owners, were building book clubs around the book, where they would get the book for their staff, and then they would meet on it once a week to figure out how can we build a whole team full of employee entrepreneurs that can help me drive my business forward. And so yeah, there's kind of three readers, and for me, it's all about just cutting the learning curve, because there's a lot of noise out there about how to be your best self, how to be your best entrepreneur self, and I look to find ways to help make that a shorter process.
Yeah, it's a very noble cause. So what is your favorite story, aspect, or general idea from Blue Collar Cash?
I think it's this. I think people tend to lead if-then lives. If I go to school, and if I get good grades, and if I get a scholarship, and if I get a degree, and if I get a good job, and if it pays well, then at some point I can live my life. Well, I like to start with the then first. I like to start with designing and visualizing and getting a real clear picture of what you want your life to look like, and then going after that one piece at a time. Because once you know what your perfect end game looks like, there's a whole bunch of ways to get there. And getting there is the important thing. How you get there is not always as important as arriving at your best nirvana, your best comfort, peace, and freedom, which is what I call it in the book. So yeah, I think my favorite story is the fact that we all have the ability to use the visual side of our brain. It doesn't cost you a nickel to do that. And you can really spend some time, especially if you think about, okay, I'm in control of what I know what my favorite color is. I know what my favorite car is. I know what my favorite house might be. I know what my favorite dog or cat, or my favorite sport, or my favorite, charity moment or spiritual moment, my favorite vacation. I'm the only one that really knows what those things are. So why am I not asking myself, what should my life look like?
Yeah, that's right. Like you're kind of in charge of yourself. Yeah. So what inspired you to pursue writing after a successful career in construction?
Well, it's interesting because I became, when you start with six people and you build a team of almost 200 over the last 30 years, you learn a lot about people, and you learn a lot about what makes them, really inspired and motivated and want to work not only for you, but for themselves. And that's what's really important. So I became almost an involuntary life coach. I mean, I don't have any formal training. I don't have any letters after my name. So I found myself, getting involved in people's lives in all aspects of it, and helping them literally draw out a picture of what they could live like, what would be their favorite way to live, and how to get there. And so the more that became successful, the more that actually worked, the more that I thought, well, maybe we should put these ideas down beyond the four walls of my company. And it was actually my wife that said, you have this great thing with coaching, and you need to share that. So I wrote a bunch of stories, and here we are.
Yeah, it sounds like you're really heavy on those interpersonal skills. They're important. So, going into your formal education familial background, how do you think that those have translated to your work as a writer?
Well, Again, when I started, I mean, it was always my father was a pretty tough Marine, and we loved that. There was five boys under the age of 9 in our house at the same time, so he had to run it kind of like a mini barracks, and it was really cool because he gave us everything we needed. He gave us my mom and my dad gave us food and shelter and clothing and all that stuff. But if we wanted something beyond that, we had to go earn the money to get it. So we would see things that we wanted, and then we would go work extra to go get those things. So we were constantly using visualization, even at a very young age. And yeah, I think that's what's really, really important, because as I started thinking about this project, I thought, well, what is the end of this thing going to look like? The book and the course and changing people's lives and all that. And I could just see that pretty clearly. So I started believe it or not, I started with a bunch of pens and a bunch of legal pads and just kept writing until my hands were sore. And eventually it got noticed, and here we are.
Yeah, it sounds like they fostered a lot of independence in you guys young. That's something that's so important for that drive that you're talking about. Yeah. So moving on to other works besides Blue Collar Cash, can you describe a few of your other literary publications or products that you might have for fans and where people can find them?
So I've always thought that if you read a book, you should use that book in your life somehow, like a tangible thing. A lot of people read books and they put them up on the shelves and then they become like trophies. But you ask them, well, how did that particular book change your life? And they really maybe can't answer that question. So I built this course. It's a real simple course. It's 1 hour a week for 8 weeks. You can do it right in front of your computer. And it kind of forces you to take what you learned or read in the book and actually implement it into your life so that you have actual physical, tangible change after you're done. And it's an interesting thing because I've seen these professional courses for $1,500 to $3,000. No, that's not what this is about. My life was good before I ever wrote this book, and this is kind of my way of giving back. So my course is $99. You get a free $25 book with it, Blue Collar Cash. And then once you do that, you can donate one to a friend or a loved one or whoever for free. So it's kind of a neat thing that you can take this course, help yourself, help somebody else at the same time, improve your lives, and finally get to where you want to be.
It's cool that you made it interactive. That's not something you see all the time. That's really nice, the donation aspect of it too. So I guess moving on to your advice for future aspiring writers, what do you think that people hoping to write their own book could take from your journey?
Well, I would say this. I never woke up on a Monday and said, today I'm going to write a book. I mean, what I did was I started exploring ideas and writing down stories, and they weren't even in any particular order. So I wouldn't say to you, okay, make an appointment on Thursday night to sit in a quiet room and start writing. That isn't really how it works for me anyway. I got inspired on the golf course, or I got inspired by hearing what somebody said in a conversation, or I got inspired, wherever it might have been. So, I mean, I wrote a chapter of it on vacation in Jamaica. I wrote a chapter of it on a plane. So when the moment hits you, just grab your pen and your paper and just start writing, and just keep going until that thought's completely gone. You'll probably find out every time you do that, you'll have 1,800 to 2,000 words. And then, you do that over a course of a few months, and pretty soon, boom, there you have it. At least you have the notes of a manuscript. You have a basic guideline there. So I would say don't put pressure on yourself to create a product. Just allow your idea to show itself, and just write when you feel like it and don't when you don't. And eventually you'll get there.
It's all about finding those pockets of time then when the motivation strikes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. We're all very busy people, but there are times when inspiration hits you, and it might be when your mind's at its most quiet. Who knows? But whenever it is, just grab that opportunity and run with it.
Yeah, that's important. So those are all the questions that I had for you. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we close?
Oh, just that, again, you and only you are in charge of what your future looks like. You can listen to other people and you can listen to a lot of advice and whatever. But what I try to do is allow you to be you. I tried with this book and this course to allow you to discover who you really are. And I've had some great reviews from it. I've had a lot of people say it's really, really helped them a lot to see what their life looks like going forward, because it's always reactive. And I would rather have you happen to life than life just happen to you. So hope people take advantage of it and change the way they think.
Thank you, Ken, for taking the time to talk with me today. And for those of you who are watching the interview, if you haven't already, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week.